All right, let's get into it, but you're probably not going to like what I have to say. Number one, what are the responsibilities of road users, which means both parties in this situation? First of all, to maintain an adequate lookout, to make sure you're recognizing hazards that are in the roadway. Number two, to yield the right of way to anybody who's making a lawful maneuver, as you're obligated to do. And number three, to follow the rules of the road, also not speed. So if you watch the video, you'll see the car is already starting its turn at the time that the cyclist is approaching. This means that the driver likely, before executing the turn, as you should do, made a shoulder check and looked for hazards. Likely, if you're being a good driver, if you're being a responsible driver, as you're approaching your driveway where you know you need to turn, you're probably scanning the sidewalk to see if there are any pedestrians or any hazards in the roadway that you might have to wait for before you turn. That's what a good, responsible driver should do. And as you're making your shoulder check, you're going to double check for pedestrians, anybody getting out of the cars that are parked on the side of the road, and any hazards that you would expect to see. Now, where would you expect to see a cyclist? Where they are lawfully supposed to be, which is in between the parked cars and you on the road, not on the sidewalk. Cyclists are not permitted to ride their bikes on the sidewalk. And what makes this worse is that this appears to be an electric bike given the speed at which the bike was traveling, especially relative to the moving traffic on the roadway. You can see that the bike is traveling probably at around 30 kilometers per hour, and that would be like a motor-assisted cycle. So the rider is using the electric assist on the sidewalk, making it even more of a hazard to any sidewalk users like pedestrians, children, people playing in the yards. But this also prevents the cyclist from being able to stop in time. Now, you can also see that the car is already making its maneuver. Long before the cyclist comes into frame, you can see the signal light activate on the car starts slowing down in anticipation of the turn. There's traffic backing up behind the car as it's waiting for it to turn. These are all cues that the cyclist should have recognized as requiring an adequate lookout for a hazard ahead and adjusting their speed accordingly. If the traffic is slowing down, the cyclist should be slowing down to make sure there's not some hazard that they're just going to ride right into. And the car is already like 30% of the way into the driveway when the cyclist makes contact. So the cyclist was not looking for the car and didn't see the car. They should have been able to see from their position on the sidewalk that this vehicle was turning and that the vehicle had the right of way. You don't have to yield the right of way to cyclists that are not lawfully riding on the road. Yes, you shouldn't crash into them, but the video clearly depicts the cyclist crashing into the car. Now, as far as traffic tickets are concerned, the cyclist could get a ticket in this case for riding on the sidewalk. The cyclist could get a ticket in this case for riding without reasonable consideration or riding without due care and attention. The driver of the car could get a ticket for, an unsafe turn perhaps, but unlikely. It's unlikely that the car driver would get a ticket at all in this case. And as far as ICBC apportioning blame, which they still do even though we have no fault, I would anticipate that a significant portion of the blame would be apportioned to the cyclist in this case because they were the ones violating the law. They were not where they were supposed to be. They were riding too fast for the conditions. They were failing to maintain an adequate lookout, whereas the car driver would probably get a lot less of the fault. I would say probably a 70-30 split in favor of the car driver. But, that's ICBC's determination to make. Ultimately, though, this is not the cyclist's fault. This is the cyclist's fault. This is not the car's fault. There are situations, obviously, where car drivers don't do the proper lookouts for cyclists, but you cannot be expected to look for hazards in places they are not expected to be.